Welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, a lot's happened in the last few days. We are probably all aware of what happened on Christmas Day in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm not really going to get into that too much. But what we are going to talk about is the increase, it appears, at least on my part, the increased amount of fear and panic that seems to be building amongst the people, and how dangerous that can be for us. Before we get started, if you don't mind, go ahead and clicking that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. And that way you can get notifications, especially if you click that little bell icon when you subscribe. You get most usually notifications from YouTube of when I post new content. So the RV thing happened on Christmas Day morning in Nashville. And since then, I have noticed online that and other things seems to have caused an uptick in just uneasiness amongst the people. I have a theory. I believe that all the stuff that's been going on in 2020, we've talked about this many times, of how it's really gotten a lot of people down and a lot of people on edge and a lot of people scared, which is why we prep, right? To prevent big disasters happening in our own lives. It's like an insurance policy, remember? Just like when you take out insurance on your car, it doesn't mean you're not going to get into a car wreck or, someone key your car, but you have insurance for that for when it happens. And so that's what being prepared is. But this year's been different, right? I mean, it's 2020 and people have been more and more on edge. And it just seems like just when everything starts to kind of, it's going to have a little bit of a slowdown period, the summer seemed to be that. We had the initial panic of the health crisis, and then it got a little bit better in the summer. Things started to open up, and then all of a sudden it starts closing down. And then there was this panic of the election, and it was going to be really bad. And then it happened, and it kind of wasn't that bad. And then there's been a panic and an uneasiness with all the aftermath of the election. And more it seems like, well, maybe it won't pan out the way that we're told it will. So in the end, there's just been a lot of uneasiness of the people. And I believe that most people, and I know I'm generalizing, and some of my listeners don't fall into this category, but most people look at Christmas as kind of a really positive time of the year, a time of hope, a time of family, a time of just turning aside from all the craziness that's going on in the world and just focusing on each other. And so I have this theory that a lot of the people we're hoping that would change things because it's close to the end of the year. All the craziness has gone on and it's kind of done. This new shot in the arm is going to cure all the health crisis problems. The election debacle, well, there's only a small minority still that think that it's going to, something's going to change. That's pretty much set in stone according to, the masses. And things are just going to get better. We're going to have Christmas. All our family's going to get together. It's going to be nice and loving and hopeful and peaceful, and things are just going to get better. And then what happens? We have this explosion, right? And I think it rocked a lot of people. And since then, just on that note, I've noticed there have been in the news several cases of where they have suspected a potential vehicle. As of the time of this video, every one of them that I have looked at, they've been unfounded. The police have stopped the vehicle, and they've called the bomb squad out because of suspicious activity. Maybe someone calls because everyone now that has an RV or a big box truck is a potential threat. And then they find out that nothing happens. And so there's that aspect, and it shows that people are on edge. They're terrified that it's going to, that their town is going to be the next one. And that maybe it's all these crazies that are upset about the election, or maybe they're all these racists or these ancient Neanderthal, people that just don't want America to naturally progress. that's doing all this kind of stuff. And so we see a fear starting to build there, that, you know, 2020 couldn't just end on a positive note. We have to have this, destruction. And now we're curious and we're scared and we're looking around every corner because the next, recreational vehicle could be something that could destroy our entire city. Then there's something else that I've noticed that seems to be an uptick in the last few days. There's been a lot of videos floating around online of people that are just fed up with what's going on. They're in the middle of a pharmacy, they're in the middle of a grocery store, they're out in public, they're wherever. And they're standing up and a lot of them, I'll be honest, they sound a little crazy. And they're speaking out about how they're so sick and tired of this lockdown, and they're sick and tired of being forced to wear something on their face, and it's ridiculous and it's crazy, and all the studies show that none of it is even helpful, and they're they're distraught. They're fed up. They're at their wits' end. They've been pushed to a limit, and they can't be pushed anymore, and they're breaking down. And so what I feel in my heart is we are seeing kind of the breakdown here. We see people that, on one hand, was just hopeful that Christmas would be the end of this, that things would get better, that the new year would come along, and that 2020 would just be a fading memory. And that didn't happen. And then we have the other side of the people that are just absolutely fed up with all this. They're fed up with the ridiculous laws and the shutdowns and being told where they can go and what they can and can't do and what they have to wear and if they can go to work or not. They're sick and tired of the corruption in government. They're seeing all these bills trying to be passed that are just full of insane amounts of pork and government spending. And the government isn't there to help us any longer. They're only there to help each other and to help foreign powers, which we all knew that was just normal anyways. That's just how business is done in Washington. But it's become more profound this year. More people are focused on that. More people are noticing. And I think what we're seeing is an uptick in panic amongst the people. We're seeing an uptick in the people they're done, okay? Their nerves are shot, their stress level is peaked, and they are done with everything that's happened. And whether they're terrified that the health crisis is real, or they're terrified that some domestic terrorist could happen, or they're sick and tired of the government and the elites and the media and the politicians and stuff that are just locking them down into a little tight little ball, and they feel being squeezed. And you know what happens when you squeeze something and you squeeze something? You build pressure. And that's what's happening. So we have these two segments of society that are just absolutely done. And what we are, I believe, going to start seeing is an increase in the level of panic, the increase in the level of just people that aren't going to take it anymore. And what that could cause is a level of chaos that we have not seen before. And something that we've talked about many times on this channel over the past few months, that really, I feel, the biggest thing to worry about is not the actual event that could cause something to happen, but the panic from the people because of that event, or the panic of the people because they believe there is an event or something that could happen. In the end, the panic of the people is probably the worst thing that can happen. It's probably the greatest thing that we have to fear when it comes to our society and our civilization coming apart, is the panic of the people. And I think that's what we're seeing now. Is this orchestrated or is this coincidental? It could be a little bit of both, but I'm pretty sure, at least my gut feeling is that it's orchestrated pretty much like everything else. But what that says for us is that we need to start being even more guarded. And I've been kind of preaching this message for months now, that don't think that 2021 is going to be a cakewalk. And a lot of you already know that. You say that in the comments. You know that already. But regardless of what happens with all these things that we've been worried about in 2020, that are bleeding over into 2021 and this new year that we're about ready to come upon, I think the thing that we have to worry is a stampede of the people. It's kind of like with cattle. Any of you that's ever raised them or been around cattle. A lot of times the worry isn't the coyote that's out there or the mountain lion that could attack them or something else that could, you know, attack the cattle or something that could injure them or hurt them. It's the cattle themselves is the worst thing to worry about because if they get spooked, even if it's nothing, they could stampede and then they could injure themselves and certainly injure others around them. And that's what we are, I think, we're on that edge right now of seeing a stampede of the people. Um, Something could happen that could change that could bring it back down. But I think right now that's what we're seeing, and that's something that we need to all be concerned with and be on our guard. And also to not fall victim to that. And what I mean by that is become part of the panicked people ourselves. Um, well, that's why we one of the way we prep, so that we don't panic, so that we don't live in a state of fear. We know that the things that are happening in our world around us, that we have a better chance of getting through them because of the way that we prepare our lives and prepare our mind, prepare our hearts. So as the weeks are progressing and 2021 is coming into view very clearly, and we know that there are some things up and coming in the next few weeks that could certainly have some major impact in our lives. Uh, Keep watch on just the what seems to be the level of panic and the level of distraughtness and the level of just being absolutely fed up that people are ready to do something or they're ready to give up. There could be some good things that come out of this. It could mean that enough people will stand up and they're actually ready to fight for a change, and maybe we can have some real genuine change in our society. Um, but it could also mean that society just starts to collapse in around itself because the people who the people are the ones that really keep a civilization going. It's not the elites or the politicians or the corporate heads or anything like that or the banks. It's really the people that keep a civilization moving forward. And if the people start to break down, we could start seeing some darker days than what we expected. But I think most of us were already expecting that. We already knew that the possibility of all this that's happening could lead to society itself, the people just becoming so overwhelmed and panicked and distraught that they themselves would be the greatest threat to our society. So as things move along, kind of keep an eye on that and notice when you're online that the level of anger, the level of fear, the level of just a breaking point. It's like everyone is on the verge of having a mental breakdown because of all the stuff that's happening. And maybe not everyone. I know that's an extreme generalization. But we are seeing it a lot. And just like with cattle, you don't have to see the whole herd panic and spook. You really only need one or two cattle to spook and panic, and they will cause the whole herd to stampede. So we could see that easily in our own society. While maybe the actual numbers show the majority of the population is kind of calm and doing fine and just kind of moving along, it may only take small percentages of our population to spook and panic and do something to cause a stampede of the entire herd. So something that I've noticed in the last few days, and maybe I'll get in more into the actual event that happened in Nashville. I am undecided yet. I was born in Nashville, never lived there, but I was born, and I'm very familiar with the area that happened. I've been down there a few times. Not that that gives me any insight, but anyways, it's just something that I wanted to bring to you that I'm starting to see. It seems like a little uptick, whether it's the people themselves or orchestration from the media and the government. It doesn't really matter. The point is that we're seeing it start to kind of go up because I think people thought they were hopeful that things were going to be different, and it's becoming more and more apparent that it's just going to get worse. All right, folks. Thank you all for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.